All right, let's see what Sabine has to say.
Scientists unveiled the first prototype of a battery that runs on nuclear waste and that could keep going for more than 5,000 years. Let's have a look. Nuclear waste is
5,000.
really an oxymoron because if the material radiates, it means that it emits energy. So why
Right.
bury the stuff in the ground? Scientists say, let's do something useful with it. NASA has used some sorts of nuclear batteries since the 1970s to power, for example, the Voyager missions. These are what's called thermonuclear batteries that turn heat from radioactive decay into electricity. However, this detour through heat is rather inefficient. This is why scientists have long tried to produce nuclear batteries that generate electricity directly from the radioactive
Right.
decay. The new battery now comes from the company Arkenlight, which is a spin-off from the University of
Arconlight.
Bristol. They made a battery from
Arconlight.
carbon-14. This radioactive isotope is created in the graphite shielding of nuclear reactor cores. It makes better decay, so it emits an electron, and it has a half-life of 5,700 years. Worldwide, there are about
half-life.
250,000 tons of this graphite waste, which could power a lot of batteries. Just how they create a battery from the carbon-14, I don't know, as they don't have any technical reports, but I have a guess. They probably evaporate the carbon-14 and mix it with a gas of the stable carbon isotope. Then they take one half and mix in nitrogen and another half and mix in some other element, maybe phosphorus. Then they condense the stuff in two layers on some surface. These are basically synthetic diamonds. They need two different layers of crystal structures so that the random decay of the carbon-14 creates a directed electric flow. The result is what's called a beta voltaic battery. And around that you need some shielding so that the occasional stray electron doesn't harm anyone touching the thing. But this type of radiation is quite easy to shield. Just, don't chew on the thing. Similar batteries have been produced before, but with other isotopes and shorter half-lives.
Right.
Arkenlight is the first to do it with carbon-14 from the graphite waste. This is why they recently made international headlines with their first prototype. So this is a pretty cool idea to turn nuclear waste into something useful.
That is good.
However, the power of such batteries is super low. The
Very
carbon-14
narrow.
battery probably has a power production below a microwatt. You'd need 100 million or so of them to power your laptop. This might sound somewhat surprising because we always hear that nuclear power is so energy dense. But this is for nuclear fission reactors, which
Right.
undergo controlled chain reactions. The batteries work entirely differently. They instead rely
batteries.
on radioactive decay. Still, even with such a tiny power output, these batteries have their uses because they have such a long lifetime. They could, for example, power medical implants. I believe that these will become dramatically more common in the near future. If you have any sort of risk factor, you'll get a teeny tiny device inserted that'll give an alarm if something goes wrong, or that can be used to regulate, say, stray electrical signals like pain or a heart arrhythmia or whatnot. In space, such batteries might keep sensors alive on missions to distant planets, or you could use them to power tags for satellite payloads,
Or it's kind of overkill, but maybe just run a simple clock.
where they fell down. Closer to home, it could be used to track ocean currents on the seafloor. This British battery isn't the first nuclear battery, of course, and while
British
the diamond
battery.
battery is still in the lab, the American company City Labs has been selling nuclear batteries.
Oh, it's so much more of a boring name, City Labs. I mean, yeah, like Arcan something. What was it called? Arcan Energy. And then just City Labs. Okay.
For years. Their batteries use tritium, a radioactive form of hydrogen with a half-life of 12 years. They create up to 100 microwatt or so, which for nuclear batteries is actually a lot. Still, with a
Okay.
half-life of 12 years, these batteries
Yeah.
don't last long enough for sensors that you want to remain active for hundreds, if not thousands of years. The
Right.
CityLab batteries are already out there working. They
City
power
Labs.
environmental sensors in places too remote for battery swaps like
Right.
weather stations in the wilderness.
Nice.
They say on their website that these batteries are also good for defense purposes because I guess they might accidentally drop into someone's tea. Looking at the big picture, it's interesting that this technology is only being developed now when the
It's a bit of a dark joke.
basic ideas go back more than half a century. I think it's a sign of the overall nuclear renaissance that we're seeing. I'm sure it won't be long now until we can lean back in our autonomous nuclear-powered flying cars and watch YouTube. Did you know there's a free and easy way to
Yeah, it's cool. I thought it was interesting that she was able to figure out what the underlying mechanism was. I'm guessing she's got a community that helps her out, which is great. I mean, it helps everyone out, so that's pretty cool. I mean, it'd be cool to have a battery, like just a watch or a clock that you just didn't have to charge, that you didn't have to plug into the mains, for example. But I think that's like a ways off. This is more kind of like just your backup battery in your computer or your hardware or something. But again, like 5,000 years is kind of overkill. But that's interesting.